Yo, what is up? YouTube. It is back. OTO Podcast, episode 14. We had a lot to talk about, a lot of weird stuff. UFC 321 just happened last weekend, but I'm here with my co-host, Bannon Crowley. He can introduce himself now.
How's it going, guys? This is something we've been looking forward to for a while. The UFC had their four best heavyweights on display this weekend. They all showed out. The heavyweight division is saved, so we get to talk about that today, and I am excited for it because we just came off what could be the worst card of the whole year.
He may be right about that, but as you guys obviously know, Tom Aspinall fought for the first time in what feels like forever after John Jones kept tucking him for over a year. So the heavyweight belt landed in his hands, and now Cyril Gane lost to Volkov, and he got the title shot against Aspinall. And then, as you know, it ended in a no contest. So pretty terrible card all around. When you already have a co-main like Dern versus Jandiroba, you really need a banger main event, and just wasn't meant to be. There's been so many great events this fall leading up to the Paramount deal for 2026, but this one just didn't do it. So starting off, we're gonna go Aspinall, defending technically title defense against Cyril Gane, and I the fight ended very, very soon, obviously, but a lot of people were saying that Cyril Gane won that fight. In your eyes, like, do you think Gane had a clear advantage of what we saw so far?
I think the way that we look at this, right, is that yes, Cyril Gane was winning that first round. Do we know what's going to happen after that? No. I think he was winning that first round. He bloodied him up. He got past that whatever 2 minutes and 2 second time that Aspinall usually takes. He's a quick finisher. So he got past that time, and then we're like, oh, what's gonna happen now? And then we got past whatever it was, 2.5 minutes where John Jones finished Gone and made him look like he was an unranked heavyweight. So that it got exciting then. And then obviously, Gon poked Tuna Tom in the eye, and then that was the end of the fight. Um, but Gon looked very good. I was very surprised. I don't think he's very good. I mean, we'll talk about it throughout the whole episode. I don't think there's a heavyweight that I look at that I'm like, wow, that guy's really good. I mean, we saw all four heavyweights on display this weekend, and I think they just have to, at this point, I don't even know, man. Just get rid of the whole division because this is just terrible. Absolutely hogwash, terrible. Every single heavyweight should be kicked off the roster. And we were talking about how bad it was tied to Ivasa was ranked. He's probably the 10th best heavyweight at this point. Like, if we're being honest, he probably is. I'd rather watch him go in here than watch half of these guys fight ever again. They just cut Hamdi after going what after he had two wins. I don't even know, man. You had Walter Walker who won the past four fights by heel hook, broke his leg. He's out for a whole year now. I don't even know. The UFC's heavyweight division is absolutely terrible. Um, and I'm sick of it, man. I'm sick of it. I've had enough.
Yeah, and I gotta completely agree there. And when you look at the top prospects like Walter Walker, he's cool, he's funny. Is he really a prospect though? Like, is he really? Tom Aspinall said he would vacate his belt if Ante Delija fights for the title. He said he might not even re-sign with the UFC in another two fights left on his contract. So I don't love Aspinall's PR. Him and his dad have been doing, him and his camp. A lot of bad stuff, but Jailton Almeida
Yeah.
guy, I loved a lot. Also, not great PR. Just a bad week for heavyweights overall, but I will say, Tom Aspinall, I'm one of his biggest defenders. I'll say it. I don't care. He is so dominant in the past that someone getting past the first 3 minutes with him is seen as a win. What other guy in the UFC has that status? Where if you would,
Andre Arlovsky.
okay, okay.
All
Anyway,
right.
anyone that has that stat, people will get out of the first round with Andrei Arlovsky. I'm not saying Tom does it every fight, but he's that type of guy now where if you do okay against him, it's like, oh man, like Tom sucks. And th that's just how good he is. Like Islam doesn't have that. Islam goes through the whole fight and gets a decision, and that's normal for him. But the irregular for Tom is getting a longer, drawn out fight. So we really haven't seen what he'll look like later on. And I just don't think you can judge, what, 2, 3 minutes of a fight. I think it did. Tom definitely, I think, broke his nose. He was bleeding a lot, but he was working the body on Gon, and maybe Gon had a slight striking advantage, but I really wouldn't put the fight one way or another. I don't think it was that concerning for either guy. I will say, moving into the rematch, whenever we'll get into when we think that should be rebooked for, but I do think that the odds should be more of a pick 'em. I think Aspinall being that much of a favorite is a little crazy. Like, Gon's not a pushover. He went to a decision with Ngannou. He's not the worst fighter ever, but I just don't think he's that dominant as a heavyweight. As just saying, a lot of them are not that dominant anymore. But one last thing about the fight itself is Tom looked fine. He always blitzes with that chin up, which scares me every time. And I think Gon next fight at least will be looking for that a lot. But the one like people kept saying like, oh, Gon's defending the takedowns. He's doing the John Jones thing where when he would defend his takedowns, he would take his fingers and just kind of poke him out, and then Tom would move in, and they missed a few times, and then eventually they landed. Like, I wouldn't exactly call it a takedown defense strategy, but John Jones does it too, where there's a few serial eye pokers. I watched Jones versus Stipe. He was so slow. Jones was just moving his hands out like that, and Stipe was just kind of walking into it, trying not to get poked right in the eye. So if they're not going to add new gloves, I'm so sick in the UFC of guys. Kevin Holland got kneed so hard in the
His
groin again.
balls exploded and he didn't quit on the stool.
Exactly. I was trying to keep it PG, but yeah, his balls exploded. He didn't quit. He kept fighting. He was avoiding the refs. But how many times does a rule break need to be a point deduction? Like in the fighting game, if you get poked in the eye or kneed in the groin, that's gonna keep hurting you. It doesn't go away instantly. It's gonna affect the rest of your fight. I'm so sick of guys grabbing the cage, grabbing the gloves, because they know they can do it. The ref, he's like, hey, don't do that, no point deduction, and it affects the outcome of the fight. So you got to start taking points, and people are gonna stop poking eyes. But I guess back to the fight, I didn't see a clear advantage, but I'm very excited for their rematch.
Yeah, so a few things. The odds did come out. I think it was more of a pick 'em, like you said, for the next one. Aspinall still favored, but it's closer. Um, Yeah, I mean, Gon's not bad, but obviously going up against the GOAT, he tapped out in like 2.5 minutes. So obviously that's kind of why people had this perception of him. And also in his last fight against Volkov, where he lost, I mean, they gave him the decision win. He still lost that fight, though, in all reality. He didn't look that great. And kind of like what you said with the eye pokes, one person that pointed it out very well, I think, was Ariel Helwani. He said, in the NBA, when you set an illegal screen, right? They don't ask you after, oh, did you mean to do it or not? And if you say, oh, I didn't mean to do it, then they just don't give you the foul. It's still a foul. The other team gets possession of the ball. It's still a foul. There's no intent. Yes, there's like the flagrant fouls where, if it's intentional, it gets moved up to a flagrant two. It's more of a severe penalty. But even if it's unintentional, it's still a flagrant one. It's still a foul. You have, like, the rules are there for that reason. So I think something has to happen, like you said. The eye pokes are going to continue to happen if not. I've seen a lot of things about it mostly being like these French fighters do that a lot. Which, if you go back and look, it is very obvious too as well. So I don't know. I mean, I don't really understand. Jim Miller said the same thing too this week. It's like when you're going up towards someone and you're trying to fight them, you don't go like this to fight someone. So I don't know, man. And like you said about Tom's PR, I think that also has been bad after he released that full video after where the doctors pretty much said that there was no structural damage or any damage to his eye, which doesn't really help him. I feel like if you have that, you don't put that out there. Also, DC is mad at him for releasing their conversation that they had that was supposed to be under wraps, where DC basically just told him that every single heavyweight sucks and he can go on a run. But then they released that video when that was supposed to be a closed door conversation or whatever he said. A lean in. When I lean into someone, I don't want them saying what I told them. So who knows what else he's leaned into people and told them. So, but hey, man, we've all been there. So I don't blame him. But yeah, I mean, I don't even know. We'll have to do a rematch at some point. When should it be? I mean, if there's no damage to his eye, then I don't see why we wouldn't have it. You can't really have it in November or December because there's already two championship fights on both of those cards. Unless you want to have three championship fights in December. I would just make it be on the first Paramount deal in January. I mean, that's probably the soonest that we could have it. Have Ilya be the main event because I'm not putting these guys on the main event above Ilya. That is absolutely insane. They do not deserve it. I don't think any heavyweight fight deserves a main event over Ilya at this point. But yeah, I think they should fight then. Um, but just disappointing overall.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I'll start with I do think when you rebook their fight, they don't have to cut weight. Could be an easy fix, and this is a great opportunity, kind of a layup for Campbell and Dana to be like, let's just throw this on our new Paramount card. Like it seems like they're struggling a little bit because they want that Paramount card to be a banger, but there's not Ilya and Patty, Ilya Gaethje. Is that the main event? Is that your huge promotional card usually? For a new company, they build up a banger card, and I'm not exactly sure if that is what they were really hoping for, but it does surprise me because 323, 322, and even the fight night in Qatar are
Hey,
absolutely.
put the rematch on the fight night in Qatar.
It could be heavyweights, could be you kind of lower their belt status to silver maybe, and they're just fight night only belts. Not a bad idea right there, but. One idea we could see maybe is maybe they slide off someone because maybe Shevchenko, Zhang Weili, maybe you guys get bumped to January and see this we see
I'm
Aspinall versus
I'm not moving that fight to put this rematch
yeah.
of Paw Patrol Man and Tuna Tom in an eye poke battle. I'm not putting this rematch instead. I would rather watch Zhang Weili and Valentina Shevchenko than that.
Yeah, and it's honestly really unfortunate the way it holds up the division itself. Not like there's too many contenders, but the guys it really affects are guys like even John Jones, I'll say it, Alex Pereira, the guys that whether Jones actually wants to fight or if he's just rage baiting on Twitter, but it affects Pereira a lot instead of maybe fighting Tom Aspinall in 2 to 3 months, maybe a little longer, he has to wait again, and maybe he has to defend his belt again and then move up. So, and if we see Pereira Jones, maybe is that like is that going to be the BMF belt? Are they going to slide that up? I can't imagine Pereira is going to vacate his belt. Dana doesn't like double champs anymore, so I really don't think Pereira is going to vacate his belt to fight Jones for nothing. That would just be, it puts everyone in a weird spot. They would need a lot of money, but
I think he's going to be fighting him for $50 million.
that's true. That's not nothing. But if we get back to the crux of the issue, do you think, I know how you feel about Tom Aspinall, but in my mind, I know there was no long-term damage. He's not going Bisping mode now with one eye. I do not think he should have kept fighting. I personally would not have kept fighting. Do you think Aspinall should have kept fighting?
Realistically, it's not his fault, obviously. All jokes aside that he got poked in the eye. It is just unfortunate that, this whole division is terrible. And like you said, they're holding guys up, but are they really? Like what we just saw between Almeida and Volkov. I don't care who they gave the decision to. I don't want to see either one of those guys fighting for the belt next. Like, I don't think they're really holding anything up at this point because there's no one that I want to see even fight in this division. The only person that I want to see fight in this division is Derek Lewis on a fight night against some random blob. Like, that's the only thing he's the only heavyweight that I'm excited to watch fight right now. So I don't know, man. Um,
One last thing about Tom Aspinall. I thought there was one, and I'm not glazing him, but there was one crazy theme I noticed of Tom, what would it take Aspinall? Got fingered by a UFC fighter right in the eye. I'm just saying some parallel connections there.
yeah,
People
I
get that.
mean, it did take a 6'4" French dude.
It did. It did. But Gon is a serial rule breaker, a serial UFC
Yeah.
breaker. So Tom, he figured out the answer to that question. But moving on to maybe the fight of the decade, one of the most interesting title fights of all time, Mackenzie Vern versus Verna
Uh,
Jandiroba.
Mackenzie Dern.
Oh, of course, yeah. Mackenzie Dern beats Verna Jandiroba. A very interesting fight. Decision, as we probably all expected. I don't think you can really argue about the decision at all. I think Dern won that fight, but it's kind of sad that maybe in the 10 years ago, if we Zhang Weili could move up, she could keep this belt because I don't think Mackenzie Dern is exactly champion status, and then she could come back down in a few months and just beat her up and get her belt back. So.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad that you finally admitted to us that, this decision was a good decision overall. I had Dern winning 4 out of the 5 rounds. She landed more significant strikes in every round but the first round. She looked good. She also performed well. She won that first fight when they fought 5 years ago, but like they said throughout the whole broadcast, when you fight someone 5 years ago, and then you fight them again now, it's not a rematch. Like you guys, completely different fighters at this point. Um, and Mackenzie Dern, was projected to be this champion. She was promised this championship a long time ago, and she finally got to it, won the championship. And yeah, it is unfortunate because I think Zhang Weili, if she beats Valentina Shevchenko, might be the best women's UFC fighter of all time, which may be a hot take right now, but she is absolutely insane. And Shevchenko's obviously up there all time as well, so obviously a win for her would do a lot. But yeah, I mean, I think Mackenzie Dern versus Tatiana Suarez is an absolute banger to make in this division. Like you said, is Mackenzie Dern championship worthy? When we look at the other women's champions right now with Valentina Shevchenko and Kayla Harrison, there's some very good champions. Um, so I don't know. She's sixth right now on the women's pound for pound rankings. And she's one of 3 champions, so that doesn't really make too much sense in my opinion. She's not the worst champion in the UFC right now. She could be the second worst, but you know, that's all right.
She's the worst champion in the UFC right now.
I would put her second worst. She's not the worst.
So who's worst? Who would be worst?
Tom Aspinall.
Okay, anyway. So going into Mackenzie Dern, I think you cannot deny it that she is not very good. Not championship level fighter. Uh Zhang Weili, I'm happy she's moving up for a super fight. I would call it that. There's honestly Kayla Harrison, Shevchenko, and Weili are like extremely talented, very, very talented fighters. But when you look at strawweight, like man, that is a razor thin division. It's not deep at all. It's just yeah, it's Tatiana Suarez. We saw how she fights.
Tabitha Ritchie.
Yep, Amanda Lemos. Like I'm just not really too excited, and I'm gonna be honest. I think there might be if we scrap strawweight altogether, flyweight, bantamweight, maybe. Those are some filled out divisions. I know that some of them would be mad they're losing it, but I think there's just too many women's divisions right now. It's not a deep enough roster. If you're gonna have 3 weight classes, we've seen in the past like other promotions have atom weight or even featherweight for women, but you need to actually fill it out. I don't think they really try and get that many women. They get a few on the contender series, but they don't go crazy about that. So I'm just Mackenzie Dern is just I think she six on the pound for pound rankings is too high. Like I think she should be lower than that, and she is the champion. So it's a weird spot, but she definitely won that fight. And I just don't get moved by her. If you watch her fight Jessica Andrade, she got like jabbed in the face and just collapsed and gave up fighting. And like I just don't. think she's good. I know she has good grappling, but Jandiroba just would like did all just looked worse, honestly. Like it just wasn't a fight that I love. So uh pretty insignificant unless you want to go. I know you have a whole monologue written down if you pick
Yeah,
for that fight if you want to get into
yeah.
that.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with getting jabbed in the face and just quitting the fight.
Okay. Yeah. That's what like when Anthony Smith beat up John Jones. Anyway,
Hey, man, one of the best all time and very good on the commentary team as well.
well, the Lionheart. Anyway, we move on to
An
another
even better fight.
heavyweight fight. Volkov beats Almeida by decision. I think we have differing opinions on this, but I loved that decision. I think there needs to be rule changes in the UFC that clinching should matter less. You damage is the number one factor in terms of scoring. And Jailton Almeida, I think he threw what 9 punches the entire fight, 10 minutes at control time with 9 punches. I am so happy they did not give that to Almeida. It would have set a very bad precedent, especially at heavyweight. Volkov outlanded him, I think in one round more than Almeida did in the entire fight, every round. So I'm very happy that Volkov got that decision. Do you feel otherwise?
I don't even know, man. Like that first round, it was 15 strikes to zero for Volkov. I think he clearly won that first round. After that, though, even like it was two of four significant strikes to four of five in the third round, seven of eight to five of five. Neither of these guys did anything. Like, do I think that I honestly don't think either one of them should have won this fight, if I'm being honest. I think it should have just been a no contest or a loss for both of them. This was just absolutely terrible.
I can
I
get
like
behind that.
Almeida. He was a guy that, I defended before. Because when you looked at him, right? Many people were like, oh, he doesn't want to hurt anyone. His fight before this, won by knockout. Before that, he submitted Romanov. He got knocked out by Curtis Blades. The Derek Lewis decision, wasn't great over 5 rounds. But before that, six straight finishes before that. So it's not like this guy does this all the time. Yes, sometimes he just goes out there and has moments like this, but he has a lot of finishes, most of them within the first round. So I don't know. I don't know what he was doing in this fight. Volkov, do I think that he should be the number one contender because he won this fight he was on the ground and throwing back 8 punches in the third round? I don't know. I don't think either one of these guys deserves a championship fight. I don't think either one of them really deserves a win. Um, like I said before, I don't even think the division is being held up because if these are the next two guys up, I don't know, man. The heavyweight division is just absolutely terrible. Like we've said before, if you're a light heavyweight, you might as well just move up, man. Like, if I'm Yuri, I'm putting on the extra weight and going up to heavyweight because why not? What's the worst that could happen? I get wrestled for like 15, 25 minutes by Jailton Almeida and I don't get hurt. I don't know. The whole heavyweight division is absolutely terrible. And if there's a division that we're cutting, I don't even know. Realistically, at this point, like, is the heavyweight division better than the women's strawweight? I don't know.
Maybe not. Bring back steroids. That was the only time the heavyweight division was good. Maybe heavyweights only can do steroids. These all just
That's
good, but
fair. And
yeah,
light heavyweights back in the
maybe.
day.
Yeah, but it's a little embarrassing. Like Chris Barnett versus Hamdy was just genuinely sad to just two like obese old men just like rolling around. His pants are falling down. It's like when the old man walks into the rec center like asking for a shot and his pants fall down when he shoots it. Like it's just not a good look. And when you look at going up to heavyweight, like Vitor Petrino was getting KO'd. He got finished in the first round by Anthony Smith at light heavyweight. He's like, all right, screw this. I'm going to heavyweight. And now he has two finishes. He's 2-0. And he's muscular compared to these fat blobs that gas out in one round. And he's probably like, why didn't I do this my entire career? But I was not. I also like both guys a lot. I think Almeida's grappling is very, very good. And I think Volkov is just a very interesting fighter who's very talented. and can give a lot of people hard fights. He dominated Pavlovich. I think that would be so fun if you throw him back with Aspinall, if Aspinall won that fight, obviously. But I was not. I might have had one game plan, and it was to shoot for takedowns instantly and not throw any strikes. He had like a complete fear, inability to throw. Like, I don't think he knew he could throw on the ground. I'm not sure if they told him that, but it was a terrible fight to watch. Volkov, I know he's 6'7", but he just did not even attempt takedown defense. When you're that tall, I know it's harder to like really get your underhooks when smaller heavyweights like Almeida are shooting at you. I understand that it's harder, but every single round they would walk out there, he would get taken down on the cage, and it's like throw it. He tried a knee one time late, but throw a knee, do something, move your feet. I think if he put in a little better effort on the takedown defense, he would have dominated that fight.
Hey,
But
I mean, he still won. So
did win the fight. I don't disagree with your take if they both get a loss or a no contest, but Almeida just straight up didn't throw. And I know Volkov had less significant strikes, but he way outstruck him because when you're getting taken down instantly and you're just kind of hitting them on your back, like I think that's really the most you could do there. Almeida didn't even attempt a submission, by the way. Didn't even go for one. Volkov was closer to a submission with a Kimura. So it's a shame for Volkov where he beats Gon, doesn't get the win. He beats Almeida, doesn't really get the win. Like he got the scorecards, but I think we need to see rule changes in the sport itself. That was just a pathetic fight. Almeida, like I could see him so well in the PFL in UFC BJJ. I don't know what he's doing. Like it can't be hard. Like Hamzat versus DDP. Everyone was mad at Chimaev. I was not at all. It was a shame that DDP got dominated like that in the title fight, but he was throwing strikes. He had him in a crucifix half the fight. That's how you do it. If you want to control someone on the ground, you make it interesting. I think you should attempt submission attempts and still mix things up, but when you look at Chimaev to when you look at Almeida, like compare those differences, it's night and day. It really is. So I just tough fight for heavyweights to watch, but another very, very fun fight. A lot of fun stuff on the ground and on the feet. Umar Nurmagomedov versus Mario Bautista. I think Umar definitely won that fight, but Mario, he looked very good. He was so close to dropping Umar, which would have been insane. I think the last time a Nurmagomedov guy, one of the main ones, got KO'd was like Islam maybe, like Adriano Martins. But their training is insane. They've shown it for years now. With AKA kickboxing in Cali, Umar is like the best example of they take really developed grapplers and sambo fighters and they teach them incredible kickboxing. He's so athletic. He has good cardio, but Mario Bautista, I think, was kind of outpacing him almost. Bautista also has great cardio. So I think it was a win for both fighters, honestly. But what did you feel like about the fight itself?
yeah, I think Mario did a good job, had that knockdown as well. I think he did unfortunately get absolutely destroyed with the takedowns. Almost 11 minutes out of those 15 minutes, Umar had control time, but it was still somewhat close, which is interesting to see. I think Mario Bautista has proven that he's better than the ninth best bantamweight right now. I mean, they have Cejudo at 10 and him at 9. And I think if they fought tomorrow, Bautista knocks out Cejudo within like 5 minutes. I think I mean, well, he has one fight left, so he should be done. But I think Bautista proved that even with that loss, he can be one of the contenders in this division. Um, Umar versus Marab is next after Jan. I think that's obvious. I think Umar is one of the only guys that can give him a hard fight, like we saw last time. And, he's going to have to work in that gas tank this time and not gas out by the third round. Maybe have a chance to win against Marab. I still think Marab beats him again in the rematch. But I think he's one of the only guys that can make it competitive. And outside of that first Sean O'Malley fight at the Sphere, that was probably the only competitive fight that Marab has had as champion was against cousin Umar.
Yeah, and even throughout that fight, Umar was getting thrown around and emoted on. But Umar is one of the only guys that can beat Merab. I know Jan says he was hurt their first fight. I don't know. He has good boxing, but I just don't think Jan's skills are a good match for Merab's skills. I think it's a very tough stylistic fight for Piotr Jan. So there's a lot of talented bantamweights right now, and I think Mario Bautista is showing that he's one of them. When he fought Aldo, I know I did not like him. I did not like the way he fought. I hate clinching. I think the McGregor rule should be instituted where it's not a dominant position to hold someone on the fence if you're not landing any strikes. It should be an even neutral position, but Bautista, like, I was so impressed with him. His cardio kept up. His pace is incredible. He just keeps throwing, keeps throwing. He got taken down a lot, but it's against like Umar. What can you really do about that? But his striking was so good. He keeps it very basic, really. He throws the basic stuff, doesn't go crazy, but with his pace, it's so hard to defend that when he keeps marching you down and coming at you. But I do agree he's better than the ninth ranked bantamweight. When you look at the new UFC rankings, they didn't, obviously with the loss, they're not going to move Mario up. I think maybe they could have, honestly, over someone like Cheeto. But Umar is now the number one contender. And he came out after saying, I would fight someone like Amin Zahabi or Davison Figueiredo to cement myself because he's trying to get that good PR. It's probably manager Ali on the phone, but you can't move down. Like, yeah, obviously you want to fight Amin Zahabi for the number one contender fight. That's not really how that works at all. Like, he probably wants to fight like Henry Cejudo too for the number one contender fight. And
Hey, well, hey man, I heard that if you beat Marcus McGee, you become the number one contender nowadays. So,
that's a very good point. But hey, when Marab's sweeping the division, that becomes possible. I just don't love. I like that Umar thinks he needs another fight because if we're being honest, he did get smoked by Marab last time. But I think he is worthy. I mean, O'Malley got two chances. I think we can give Umar two chances, to be honest, even though he hasn't been a champion. But if Pantoja wins, I would like to see Pantoja Marab versus any other fight, like in bantamweight for Marab. But Ayman's a hobby, someone that's been moving up, but I don't know why Umar's calling out these lower ranked guys. But I would like to see Mario Bautista get a big fight after this. I know he lost, but I still would like to see him fight up, whoever that is. I thought that Cejudo versus Song Yadong would be having a rematch after their eye poke affair last time. But Cejudo Peyton Talbot is crazy matchmaking. I kind of love that, but it's a super weird fight. Surprised they booked that. But a lot of fun stuff at Bantamweight. I think
mhm.
Umar's got to be the guy that beats the only guy that has a chance to beat Merab at Bantamweight, but I really don't know if he does.
Yeah, I mean, I do think you might as well give him another fight if he wants it because realistically, Marab fights in December. He'll probably want to fight again in like March. And if I'm Umar right now, might as well get another fight. I don't know who he would fight. If it's Figgy, if it's Zahabi. I mean, he's the number one wanked guy right now, so it's kind of like you got to fight someone down in the rankings. So maybe he'll fight Sean O'Malley and the winner gets a number one contender fight and Sean knocks him out and gets that fight. But I don't know. They're probably going to give him like what? If Peyton Talbot beats Cejudo and goes to 10, he's going to fight Peyton Talbot. But realistically, I don't hate that he's going to fight someone else. But it's kind of useless if he fights someone like Zahabi because I think he would just dominate him. So if you're gonna give him someone that's old that no one cares about if they lose or not. Like, just give him Rob Font if he's gonna fight someone, and that's is what it is. But the last fight that we saw on the main card happened to be a light heavyweight fight between Alexander Rakic, and Azamat Murkazanov.
Yes.
Yeah, but he's Murkazanov, absolute dog. He's a guy that, you know, he's just been putting on banger fights. This kid is good, man. This kid is good. At 36 years old, he has a few fights left at light heavyweight. He could fight for 4 more years and be fine. But, they moved him up in the recent rankings to 7. I say you just let him fight against Ankalaev. That might be crazy, but this guy, he's been putting on good performances. Let him fight against Magomed Ankalaev. The winner gets a championship fight, in my opinion. Whatever. Let's just see it happen.
That would be a little crazy to be honest, but when you look at the rankings, there's there's a lot of we talked about this last episode where there's the top few guys that Ankalaev, Blackowitz, Yuri kind of tier are like
I don't even know if I have Jan in there anymore at this point. He just
I
doesn't
mean
fight.
he doesn't fight, but I mean he's good. He pretty much beat Pereira, if we're being honest. I think that was a very
Yeah,
good fight.
he is
Uh,
42 now.
he is, and he's still very good. He still barely loses, but I'm keeping Jan up there. But they don't really have anywhere to go. Like maybe you give Roundtree Mirzakhanov, and then Roundtree, if he gets brutally knocked out, he retires. But Mirzakhanov is very small for the division. If he cut a few pounds, he could be a lethal middleweight. He'd be closer to the height. I think he's 5'8" or 5'9". And he looked very short and kind of
He's
fat in
5'10,
there. 5'10", okay.
but
But
still it's very short.
yeah, he looked very short against Rakic especially, but he had a glancing blow. He got him right on the chin that just dropped Rakic instantly. And Rakic is a guy that's competed with Ankalaev, competed with Yuri, and I just don't think his chin is holding up as he hoped. He's a wild striker. He gets himself in really bad spots, but Mirzakhanov just is very clever with his striking. He's very smart, and he really knows what he's throwing and he targets like the chin on purpose. Like he's not throwing randomly like Rakic was. Maybe Jamal Hill could be a banger fight, but I think
Mm.
one fight away, I think Rakic cannot be your best fight before a title contender fight, but I think he is very, very close, and why not feed him? We've said this before, but you have to feed your prospects. Like if they're gonna keep winning, feed them guys so they can keep moving and make a name for themselves. And Mirzakhanov is not a name that casuals really know at all. So it was a good fight overall. Good for Mirzakhanov. He's probably he 100% has to fight up again. I don't know who. Roundtree, Jamal Hill might be the only guys open. But Rakic, I believe that's 4 losses in a row now. He was once like 5-1 or 5-2 in the UFC. 4 in a row is not good at all. And I do think he's in that spot. You give him an unranked fighter, find a light heavyweight prospect, maybe a contender series guy, one of those most hyped up ones. You make a banger fight with Rakic. You tell him, hey, if you lose this fight, we're cutting you. He's gonna go out there and throw. It's gonna be a fun, probably prelim fight, but very bad look for Rakic and his future in the UFC.
Yeah, I think it's time for Rakic to go on a bulk and become a heavyweight at this point. If you go on a losing streak at light heavyweight, you're going to move up. He's pretty thin for the division. Like when he cuts, you can tell, like, I don't think there's any way that he's going to get down to middleweight. He's got a good physique on him. So I think boy, might as well just send him up to heavyweight. He's 33. He can take a year off and bulk up and go to heavyweight. Um,
That's true. And one
but
more thing on light heavyweight, when you mentioned Mirzakhanov taking on Ankalaev,
mm,
what is your absolute ceiling of Mirzakhanov with the current light heavyweight division?
I mean, in the current light heavyweight division, let's say, like, realistically, on his time path, Pereira's not going to be champion by then if he moves up to heavyweight. Um, I mean, there's a lot of good guys here, but when I look at most of these guys and the way that he just won, like it may be I would want to see him fight against the guy, maybe not Ankalaev right away, but like a guy like you said, maybe Roundtree. I know Jamal Hill wants to wait until next year to fight again for some reason. I mean, if we're talking about someone that should move to heavyweight, he's the biggest guy right now. But uh, yeah, I mean, give him Jan or Khalil Roundtree. Um, or I mean, I guess if Pereira lets go of the belt and they do Yuri versus Ankalaev, maybe even just have him go up against Alberg. But if you have the power in your hands to knock someone out like that in the first round, tech like technically wise, maybe he's not as skilled as some of these other guys towards the top, but if you have that power at light heavyweight, the ceiling is getting pretty close to winning a championship. And with the turnover that we see with champions, if Jamal Hill was champion, I'll just say it. I He can become champion. That's all I gotta say.
Yep, I can't argue with that, honestly. But moving on, that sums up our main card for 321. We're gonna go over our new segment, our shock of the night, flop of the night, and our prelim of the night. So basically,
Yes.
overperformance, someone that really surprised us, our underperformance, someone that also really surprised us, and then a very exciting prelim or prospect fighter. But starting off, I will start with my shock of the night. I was shocked by Mario Bautista. He lost that fight. I'm still giving it to him. I think he was that good. It was basically a win for the matchmakers, for his haters to be like, oh my God, he almost finished Umar. He really looked good. His cardio was incredible. I didn't think he had a chance in the world at winning that fight. I thought Umar was better at everything than Bautista. And I mean everything: cardio, striking, grappling. But Bautista went out there. If Umar was if he was an American and he got hit with that knee to the face, I think he might be doing a Lionheart cover up on the ground. I think the whole Dagestani thing with never submitting, never tapping out, never getting knocked out had a little bit to do with that. I think that was pure will that he didn't get knocked out by that. But Bautista looked great. He keeps it very basic. He marches him down. Incredible pace and cardio. Umar is just so good at if he doesn't get a takedown. His chain wrestling is so it's like unstoppable except if you're Marab, who's better at it. But I was very impressed by Mario Bautista.
Yeah, he had a good performance. I ended up going with Mirzakhanov. He was the underdog slightly in this fight. And I didn't expect him to go out there and do what he did to Rakic. Yes, Rakic has been on a losing streak, but still, I mean, going from like you said before, almost an unknown name in the division to knocking out a guy to now become a seventh ranked in the division and calling out for a number one contender fight absolutely solidified his spot in this division and a great overperformance as well. Next up, the flop of the night. I'll go first. I said the entire heavyweight division. We've talked about it a lot on this episode. I don't know if there's much else to say, but I'm just disappointed completely with this. There were four heavyweight fights on this card. Um, the main event, the championship fight, we get to see the champion fight for the first time in 15 months, and obviously ended before we really got to see anything happen. A number one contender fight where neither of them deserved to win. Um, Walter Walker had a cool heel hook. He's going to be out for a year because he broke his leg. And then Hamdi and Chris Barnett. Hamdi won, got cut. Chris Barnett lost his pants in the middle of the fight, but didn't get cut. So, absolutely embarrassing heavyweight performance on what could have been their showcase.
Yeah, I that's the right answer, honestly. I honed it down to just Jailton Almeida, but he was probably the worst out of all the heavyweights, maybe Chris Barnett aside. But when a lot of the times they'll match up fights on cards by going, they'll match up like flyweights. Like you see the Marab card coming up is like Pantoja, Marab, Van Yan. Like they match up weight divisions, and this seemed like their showcase of their heavyweights, and there wasn't a single good heavyweight fight on the entire card. Walter Walker, I'm happy he's doing the heel hooks, but the man walks in to the press conference with a heel on his chain. He says all week he's doing a heel hook. I know easier said than done, but you got to be ready for that heel hook. That's the only thing he's been doing. I'm not that impressed when he's fighting a guy that was on roids, comes over to the UFC in his debut and gets heel hooked, and he looks like he's never worked out before. He just looks humongous. Like Walter Walker, I'm happy for him. Keep on doing it, but I'm just not impressed with heavyweights at all. And Jailton Almeida was the worst of all. Someone that I really liked his grappling. I think he has such a high ceiling. And then he goes out there and just lays on Volkov and is mad about that decision. I don't see how he thought he won that fight at all. You got to get active. I hope he actually learns from this lesson. His next fight, I don't care who it is, but he should go out there, guns blazing, showing the matchmakers, showing Dana, hey, don't cut me. Please don't send me to the PFL. I know how to strike. I didn't know it was in the rule set. Now I do. So your answer might be the right one. The entire heavyweight division sucked. It ruined the card. There wasn't a single good heavyweight fight. And yeah, one thing from you.
Yeah, just remember, guys, that they cut Makayev and Jailton Almeida still on the roster. Just to
Yep,
put that out
I
there.
completely agree with that. And they've cut a lot of heavyweights who they cut Martin Bude after a win for
They
not
just
his
cut
fault.
Hamdy.
They cut Hamdi too, and I don't. They cut Rosenstrike. They cut Romanov. They cut all these heavyweights that they're saying they're boring or they're after wins. Romanov got cut after a win. Hamdi got cut after a win. Rosenstrike, like, and then they keep these guys like Tai Tuivasa is still there. Like I don't know how many times. I think the entire time we've been doing this, he's been there and he hasn't fought. And he just keeps getting bigger. Every time we see him in the crowd, he's doing a shoey and he looks bigger and fatter
Hey,
every
he's
single
coming
time.
back next year for that Australia card.
Next year, he's
Don't
coming
even
back.
worry.
Give him Mackenzie Dern. I don't care like what is going on with the heavyweight division, but it's a real shame. But moving on to a more exciting part, our prelim surprise of the night. I will start, and I
Hmm.
will go with Quillen Salkield, contender series guy from Australia, very, very talented. And Quillen is every single fight he's been in, he's shown incredible striking. He really goes out there like he doesn't mind the pain or he wants a bloodbath. He wants a hard, damaging fight. And he proved it again. I'll be honest, I liked him in the past, but I thought Hackparat was gonna win that fight. I thought Quillen was just gonna get overwhelmed. He took it on short notice. He cut a lot of weight. I think over 20 pounds of weight in I think 10 days, which is very impressive to still put on a show like that. And I mean, he's one of these contender series guys. They've had very, very good prospects, and I think this is the time when you promote these guys. Dana loves to fill the roster with contender series guys, but not often do you see them do anything in the UFC. They're kind of prelim fodder. So after a knockout like that, where Haqparat was unconscious for 4 to 5 minutes, I think you give Quillen a massive fight, a big name, someone just below the rankings, and if he wins that boom, rankings almost immediately.
Yeah, I mean, I had the same guy at this point. Like when you look at the prelims, um, and you look at performances, obviously that first round finish, I didn't think he was going to win going into this fight either. You know, like you said, these guys on that we see coming from the contender series, most of the time they give them like a can or two to start their career. Like he had 2 wins so far. This is his third win of the year. But this is the first fight where I'm like, okay, he's going to be going up against like a pretty formidable opponent, a guy probably within the top 30 of the lightweight division. But he went out there, absolutely smoked him. Um, like you said, you know, I think you can give him a pretty big fight coming up next, whoever that is. If you want to go with another contender, maybe you have him go against Rufy after that loss. Um, a guy right outside of the rankings. Maybe I've heard some rumblings about maybe Bahamondes.
Your boy King Green.
Yeah, so you know, great performance. But with that being said, we can move on to UFC 322, which is an absolute banger of a card. You know, a lot of great fights. These are all badass. JDM versus Islam for the belt, badass. Zhang Weili versus Shevchenko, and we just got a badass card that we can talk about. This actually probably should be the fight or the card of the year, in my opinion. Both of these fights, probably the highest level championship fights. I honestly think these are the two highest level championship fights you could put on in the whole UFC right now. Maybe outside of Islam versus Ilya, but I think this is pretty close to being that.
Yeah, this is a banger card. And if it was a bad one, who knows? Maybe Aspinall Gone would be on this one, but it is that good. Leon Edwards, is the opener to the main card, which is absurd to think about. And
Same.
he's fighting CP Carlos Prates at that, which is a banger. I know you love CP, but it's gonna be a great fight. And Bo Nichols somehow snuck into the main card.
Yes, let's go.
That's your boy, but I'm
We
not
did
against.
it.
I love that fight against Vieira. He's not gonna knock him out, but he's a very talented grappler. It's almost like a lower level RDR, so Bo Nickel can get some revenge. And Sean Brady, Michael Morales, also a banger card. Two of the best, kind of not unheard of, but underrated prospects that the average fan doesn't really know about or has seen them fight. Shevchenko, Zhang Weili is very talented. Yep.
Tracy Cortez versus Aaron Blanchfield as well.
Of course. And top to bottom, JDM versus Islam is a card that I've been thinking about for months now since Islam moved up. It could get a little sticky there. Who knows how that's gonna go? But we'll go over our predictions soon. But Dariush BSD, RoboCop's on this card, Malcolm Wellmaker, so many great prospects. And opener to the fight is Susurkayev. I really would like to see him again to see if he's legit. Tom Nolan gave him a banger fight last time, almost beat him. I would like to see Nolan get another chance in the UFC, but Susurkayev is a crazy prospect. Wellmaker's a crazy prospect. This is an insane card. And if you want to go over like anyone in the main card that you have like strong feelings one way or another about a prediction.
Yeah, I mean, overall, this card's going to be great. Glad to see Bo Nickel back on the main card where he deserves to be above these bums like Leon Edwards. Obviously deserves that above Leon Edwards and CP. Hopefully Carlos Prates goes out there and knocks out Leon Edwards, in my opinion. That'd be great for the division and the world. Um, yeah, I mean, should be a great card overall. Michael Morales, absolutely insane. Against Sean Brady is, that's a really tough fight for him. But if he wins, like we're talking about a championship fight coming up very soon. And Morales is an absolute dog. Like he's one of those guys that has been in the rankings, for a little while now, for about a year almost. Since his performances throughout the past few cards. But he's one of those prospects that I feel like maybe not as many people know about because, he fights mostly on fight nights, which is fair if the average fan isn't watching all of his fights on fight nights. But I'm glad that he's finally getting the opportunity to go out there and get a like pay-per-view fight. This is his first pay-per-view fight since 2022, which is absolutely insane. He's deserved a pay-per-view fight, especially on the main card now. So I'm very excited to see him. Um, I think since we started this podcast, whenever it was, 2 years ago, I've been backing JDM, and I still think, like I've said, we've been previewing this fight for 6 months now. I think JDM has a very strong chance, and I think he's going to go out there and find a way to win this fight. He's the youngest champion in the UFC right now, and he has a very bright future ahead of him, and I think he's I think he's fantastic, man. Just a good guy.
A little bit of glaze there. I completely agree. I love JDM. I do wish he was more of a champ. Like you don't get obviously not many guys get to be champ on the roster. So I wish he was more open, more arrogant, but that's just not who he is. And that maybe is one thing valuable about him. But his whole title era has been you haven't really heard much about him, but this is a banger card. And Michael Morales versus Sean Brady. Brady dominated Leon, proved himself to be good, but I think this fight will show if Leon is washed or if Brady really is good, and that's going to affect both of those fights. We could see Leon could be still good and Brady just happens to be better, or Leon is very, very washed and Prates is going to show that very fast. But I think Morales he's been on our radar for a very long time. Benoit Saint-Denis. His stock is fluctuating up and down, up and down. So I love
Against your boy.
against Dariush. It's going to be a very, very fun fight. I like the matchmaking. Prates is such a fun fighter. And then both title fights, I completely agree, are some of the most talented that you could possibly make right now. I love Zhang Wei Li. I'm not going to lie. I've seen Shevchenko. She's been kind of stuck with the Fioro Grasso. I think Zhang Wei Li, she might be moving up weight class. I think there's levels to the game, and I'm taking Zhang Wei Li. I'm gonna say it right now to win that fight. And for the main event, I've been thinking about this for so long. I'm taking JDM to win this fight. I think he is a top three pure striker, pure boxer in the UFC. Maybe Ilya, Max, JDM at three, and those rankings could even move inside of that, but. Bilal was on the feet against JDM and he got his face just obliterated, eviscerated, destroyed. And JDM is so fast on the feet. He had good takedown defense. Bilal was saying he was greased up, which is like that's when you know someone is surprisingly good. And one thing I would like, I've been saying this for so long now on this show. Islam used to be the boogeyman of the UFC. He was the most terrifying guy to fight. And now he's getting a little older. He's still young, but he's taking longer breaks. He's getting a little older and he's moving up a weight class. One of Islam's and Habib's dominance is they were just so much bigger. They could ragdoll everyone. And when you combine that with their sambo and their cardio, some of the guys had no chance against them. Like Gaethje or Poirier had no chance to beat them because they were that much bigger and they had that much cardio. But I would like to say that Makhachev's not a big welterweight. He's a big lightweight. And JDM's going to be coming into this fight 10 pounds heavier than Makhachev. JDM, his last fight, he was 189 at the weigh-ins. Islam was 181, I think, or 179. So JDM's going to be the bigger guy here. He's going to have way better striking, not even close. And if he just keeps working on his wrestling, as I know he has been, then this is going to be an absolute banger that I'm taking JDM to win this fight, possibly even by KO.
Yeah, so I guess what happens if Islam loses this fight? Like, if you're Ilya, do you still pursue that matchup, or is that kind of washed at that point? Do you want to fight Islam again? Is Islam gonna go back down and try to be like, oh well, I never lost my belt. Give me a championship fight now. I think there's a lot that can be said here. Because if you're JDM, you're still 29, you're young. If you lose this, maybe you'll have to fight again, fight someone else. But I don't think there's like, if JDM loses, you have him fight the winner of Brady versus Morales. And I think he's levels above most people in this division. That would be a banger. But if Islam loses, does he stay at welterweight? Does he try to go back down and get his belt? I think there's a lot of questions that, for Islam's perspective, if he loses this fight, a lot of people haven't been asking what happens, but his career, there's definitely a big change for him if he loses.
Yeah, I completely agree. There's no way in my mind he's cutting all that weight to go back down to lightweight. I wish that he fought Ilya and didn't. I'm not gonna say he ducked him, but I really wish he did. But JDM is such a talented striker that I think Islam might not be prepared for that. I think he's going to go in there thinking he's going to dominate like everyone. And could we see a JDM KO here? I kind of think we could. Or I think most likely outcome is he pieces up Islam, takes maybe a 3-2 or a 4-1 decision, defends that belt. I would love to see JDM defend that belt one more time, but it's going to be a fantastic card no matter what.
Yeah, I think this should be the card of the year, in my opinion. I don't know if there's anyone else you want to talk about on this card, but it should be an absolute banger.
Yeah, I mean, I think we covered a lot of it. There's so many talented fighters on it. Susurkaev, you don't want to miss that. Bo Nickel's going to be a great fight. Malcolm Wellmaker, a ton of fun prospects. But the future of the UFC right now, we've had a bad few months. It's on the up and up. I think this card's going to be the last bad one for a while. 321, I mean. And then 322 is going to be great. We got good fight nights that one with Ian Gary, Armin Strukin. They load them up for the Middle East cards. They love to load those
Mm,
cards. So that's going to be a
yeah,
fun one. A lot of fun stuff in the future to talk about, but I think that all does it for today.
yeah. And Steve Garcia versus David Onama, um, the headliner of this week's card, or this week's card, and then Bonfim versus Randy Brown, the headliner of the card after that. So, like you said, we got some bangers coming up.
Yeah, the next two fight nights are pretty terrible. Some of the worst ever, again, I would say, but they're loading the pay-per-views. I cannot complain. But either
Mhm.
way, we will see you guys after 322. That we're gonna have a lot to talk about either way, obviously, but Make sure to check out Banning's channel, Next Man Up MMA. Leave a like, comment if you hated our takes, loved our takes, whatever you want for the future of the pod, and we'll see you next time.
Tuna Tom, we are coming for that belt.